Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I just want to say hello to all my new subscribers. I'm really excited I've reached 200. Thank you so much. Today I'm going to make a card using the new Fawn Upon a Star stamp set that they just released. I'm using some Copic colors to do these critters today. I went ahead and gave a list of Spectrum Noir list of colors in case you don't have Copics, but if you have Copics, I'm using E33, E34, and E35 on the Fox. I'm going to go in and use a little bit of warm grays, the warm, it's W1, 3, and 5 on his little tail. Also the little bunny, I'm going to use the warm grays, 1, 3, and 5. The Copic colors can be compared with Spectrum Noir on the shades TN2 and TN5, and you could do like some tip to tip to get the same shades as what I'm using here on the browns. You could even go in with a little bit of TN9 if you wanted a darker shadow than what I'm doing. And as far as the grays on the bunny, when I get to that, the Spectrum Noir BGs are the warm grays that would be comparable. So I don't have all of them, but I found that BG2 and BG6 tip to tip would also kind of give you the same colors. So just check your stash and see what you have. So that gives you an option of coloring them the same way with Spectrum Noir. So with the little bunny, again, I'm just using the warm grays. On the Fox there, you see you don't really need much. You just don't want to leave anything all white. And I'm sorry I'm out of frame. I'll pop back in right quick. So just putting some shadows as if like maybe the moonlight is coming, touching the tops of their face, and maybe the very back of their bodies is where I'm leaving my highlights. After I get done coloring these, I'm going to go in and just use the Jelly Roll pens in black. It's a little black one. I don't know if you guys have found, if you use those on your critters to touch the eyes, they give it a little bit of dimension, but I found after they dry, that dimension goes away. So you'll see I'll zoom in real close when I do their eyes and noses, and it looks, like an enamel dot almost, how it raises up. But I set these aside to dry, and when I went back to die cut them, that had flattened out. So I don't know, maybe I'll try the, what do you call it, like a souffle that the Jelly Roll makes. See there, you can see it's raised up, but that went away. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. So this was a background paper that I picked out. I'm using Hickory Smoke Distress ink just to kind of go around the edges and give it a little more dimension, since the paper is a really light gray, and just, make it look a little bit more defined. But I think it's a paper from a Simon Says stamp kit from last year. I'm not sure who made this paper, but I just thought it would go well, and I used the dies from the Simon Says, or from the Lawn Fawn kit, to cut those holes for the stars. This is some pigment ink I found in my stash. It's a really thick silver. It almost looks like metal when you put it on the paper. And I'm just marking here where it needs to go behind those open stars. So it's really thick. If you have something like this, I think it came in a Hero Arts kit for Christmas last year. You can see how shiny and thick that is there. But you'll need to set it with some clear embossing powder, because it really is thick and it's almost like paint. So I'm trying to do that and, set it by just covering it up with embossing powder and heat set it. It helps a lot. So all I had to do after this was just take a paper towel and kind of go around the edges where it was still wet. I'm also going to add some blue pigment ink that also, I believe, came in that December Christmas kit with Hero Arts. That card kit, I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the one with like the snow globes or something like that. And so I'll, want more surface covered. There was another card base, like a card front that I made. You'll see it here in a second. This is holographic embossing powder by Ranger. It's gorgeous, but it makes a really big mess. Those little tiny iridescent flakes were everywhere. But so I'll heat set this, and you'll see in a minute I'm going to have a black card base that I was thinking about using. And on that one, I used all of the dies from Lawn Fawn. They have a separate, just a small die that's called Starry Skies. And I used all of those to create the base of the other one you'll see here in a second. So I'm going to die cut these little critters, and the sentiment there is from the kit. You can kind of create your own from the stamp set. And that round die was from MFT Dynamics that I have in my stash. So you see the card base on the right, the black one, that was the one I was talking about. I always kind of like to leave this in where I'm trying to decide what I want to use. You know, my son was sitting here next to me. Here I'm going to show you the dies and the stamps that I was using. But my son was sitting next to me, and I couldn't decide which card base I wanted to use from my stash and which card panel I wanted to use. So I asked him, and in the end, we decided on he wanted the gray one that I was using. So I'll just try to make up my mind here. I'm showing you how that looks with all those behind it with more stars cut out. And I'll go ahead and put this on. Use some foam tape to pop up. I just cut a little landscape shaped hill for the base for the critters to sit on. I'm going to pop everything up, the little rounded base there. My sentiment's going to be popped up, and the critters are going to be half popped and half glued. So they're kind of sitting on the edge, and because I was distracted, I actually put them below the sentiment, which I meant to put them over to the left. So, oh well, it still looks cute, but I actually did mean to put them over to the left side of the card. And I'll stamp that little sentiment. You see that little wood block is what I always stamp on the back of my cards, and it just says homemade from the heart, or handmade from the heart. Sorry, that's a little thing I picked up a long time ago from Hero Arts at Joann's or Michael's, but it's really cute. MFT ink there is what I use for my sentiment and for the back of my card. And I'm also going to go in after I get done with this. You'll see here is where I realized I should have went to the left, but I was testing to see if I could move them out here in a second, and I can't. So that's where they landed. I'll use some Nuvo drops, and we were talking about this on Facebook on the Love from Lizzie group today. And about sometimes your Nuvo drops will be really thick. You can tap the bottom of your card to try to get them to level out, but I find with my black Nuvo especially that it's so super thick that I really can't. It just comes out too thick. So what I've started doing, which I should have done on this one, but I didn't think about it because I was rushing, but is take a warm cup of water and just set your bottle down into it and let that heat up the the mixture in the Nuvo container for a few minutes, and then take it out, shake it really well, and that should give you a clearer, smoother flow out of the bottle. So you could try that if you're having any problems with your Nuvo drops. And I'm going to take this white jelly roll just to cover up a little ink smear on that word stars, and go back in with the drops on the eyes, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I think there's a little bit more of the dots I'm going to do. So yeah, you see there with the black Nuvo is a little thick. And of course I smeared my hand and everything, so you'll see me, I'm going to wipe all that off. But other than that, I'm really just going around and adding some more black dots on the card to get a little more dimension, or color in the background. So hopefully that all will settle, and I'll tap it again underneath, and it'll be fine when it dries overnight. So again, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much for taking your time to watch my videos, and thank you again all the new subscribers. I appreciate you. Bye.